It's the end of week 4 for convicted felon Donald Trump's presidency. And as he basks in the balmy breeze and sun at his Florida estate Mar-a-Lago, mass firings are being executed across multiple federal agencies, impacting thousands of workers across the United States. Some employees were given just 2 hours to collect their things before losing access to their offices. And more layoffs are reportedly on the way at the IRS and possibly NASA, where members of DOGE were seen on Friday. Although we are still waiting to see evidence of the fraud and waste that First Buddy Elon Musk claims he's ferreting out. But of course, we know that Musk would never find any waste among the billions of dollars of government contracts he's directly profiting from. This comes as the White House says more than 75,000 federal workers, or roughly 3% of the civilian workforce, accepted the deferred resignation offer with a promised payout. But with a looming government shutdown less than a month away, will that promise made be a promise kept? Joining me now is Grace Meng, the Democratic Congresswoman from New York. She's the chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and she also serves on the House Appropriations Committee. Congresswoman, it's always so good to see you. Elon Musk and his co-president Donald Trump are slashing and burning government workers out of critical federal agencies. One huge example, multiple staff at the National Nuclear Security Administration, an agency that's tasked with designing, building, and overseeing the U.S. nuclear weapon stockpile. They were terminated Thursday night, then rehired Friday morning. Oops. So this kind of incompetence, though, by Musk and his Doge bros literally poses an existential threat to Americans. What is being done to stop them?
Thank you so much, Katie. It's great to be back on with you, and thank you for your great work. This is a very scary time for so many Americans. The way that they are handling this without much thought process very suddenly is impacting and harming the lives of so many Americans. We are hearing from people who are veterans, people who are doing cancer, healthcare research, and we are grateful for unions like AFGE, who are working hard with many partners in pushing forward lawsuits. Their priority, and ours, all of us, should be to protect American workers.
So this week, you called on NASA to revoke any access for Elon Musk and his Doge bros to personnel and contracting files due to your concerns of a conflict of interest for his SpaceX company gaining inside info. I want our viewers to know SpaceX received nearly $2.32 billion from NASA in fiscal year 2023. Congresswoman, isn't this exactly the kind of swampy behavior that Trump claims he's rooting out? But obviously, it's totally okay, though, if somebody like Musk benefits from it.
Exactly. I understand that many Americans want to root out government waste and inefficiency, but we also need transparency. I am curious to the amount of contracts that Elon Musk is receiving and benefiting from, as he is alleging to be rooting out waste and transparency. He is likely the largest private contractor that has business before and with NASA. And now Trump is just going to let Elon Musk and the Doge Committee waltz right into NASA. This is an affront to American taxpayers.
So, Congresswoman, we're less than a month from the March 14th deadline to avoid a government shutdown. To be clear, the Democrats, you guys have always come to the rescue of all Americans, regardless of party affiliation, when you worked with the Republicans to pass spending bills so our government doesn't get shut down. But I gotta ask, this time around, will Democrats just say no?
Well, we have to remember that there's a trifecta of Republican leadership right now. Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, and Republicans control the White House. We Democrats, from leader Hakeem Jeffries to our ranking member Rosa DeLauro, we stand ready to help, but we cannot agree to cuts that will literally harm and maybe kill American workers and families. American workers, our constituents, both in Republican and Democratic districts, must come first.
And you've received hundreds of calls and messages this week from constituents who are understandably concerned about Trump's executive orders and I'd say his concepts of policies, because frankly, all we've seen are EOs at this point. You've been going to the protests outside these agencies yourselves, but what have you been telling people that they can do in opposition?
First of all, I'm so grateful to my constituents and so many Americans who are voicing their opinions, voicing their frustrations, not just for themselves, but for so many Americans who are directly impacted and suffering because of these irresponsible and likely illegal executive orders that are happening. We want to make sure that the American people know that we are with them. It's important also to make sure that we are not just hearing from constituents in Democratic districts, but also Republican districts as well. As House Republicans put forth harmful legislation on the floor every single week, all it takes is for 3 Republicans to vote with Democrats to make sure that we are not allowing harmful legislation to pass.
Well, we can always hope that people do the right thing. Congresswoman Grace Meng, it's always so good to see you. Thank you for being here, and thanks for being in the fight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for more, of course, joining me now is Daniel Coe, political strategist and former deputy director of White House Intergovernmental Affairs under President Joe Biden. Dan, it's good to see you. This was another week filled with a flurry of executive orders by Trump, including one that put a pause on bribery of foreign officials. That's the FCPA. I mean, I got to ask, you know the inner workings of the Oval Office when you worked with Joe Biden. Is Trump just going to rule by executive order for the next 4 years?
Well, I think it's important to paint the picture that most people don't realize that most executive orders come first from the agencies. So you can imagine the amount of chaos that's happening right now. You have people in agencies who have friends who have just lost their jobs. They have loved ones they're wondering if they're going to get fired themselves. And then they're getting orders from the White House to do all kinds of executive orders that are so way beyond the pale. And so I think what you're going to see is what you're already seeing. People rising up from the agencies and saying, this is not the America that I believe in, and voicing their opinions about why this is so important that we call this out and say that this is not the American way.
Dan, let's look at the objective metrics, because no matter which side of the aisle you're on, the objective metrics don't lie. Despite repeated campaign promises that he would lower inflation on day one, U.S. inflation rose 3% in January on Trump's watch. Trump also announced this week plans for reciprocal tariffs on other countries. And while economists disagree on how much pain the tariffs are going to cause, they do expect them to push prices up even higher. Will the MAGA cult care now? Because it was the economy, stupid, right?
Look, I think it'll take time, the reality is, but there's this perception that the president is trying to espouse, that this is just China and foreign entities that are going to feel this pain. It's not. There are small business people all around this country who rely on the current system to make whatever they are selling to their neighbors, to their members of the community, affordable. And there is so much uncertainty now as to what the future holds for small business in this country, which makes up the vast majority of businesses in this country in general, and really what makes America truly great. So the irony here is that he is impacting those people most with this uncertainty. And it may take a while, but I think these small business owners are incredibly intelligent, and they're going to see these impacts, and they're going to feel them, and they're going to blame the president.
Well, they may also blame their lawmakers, right? We just heard Congresswoman Grace Meng right before you talk about just how many Republicans would need to vote with Democrats to protect Americans from these harmful policies of Trump and Musk. I want to point out that GOP lawmakers are speaking out now because this is the find out portion for their constituents when they voted and supported Donald Trump, and they didn't have a problem with people like Elon Musk. And so, you know, Dan, is there going to be enough pressure from constituents to have these Republicans grow a spine when it comes to these critical votes? We haven't seen it happen on those Senate confirmation hearings.
You know, the reality is the Republicans control Congress right now, but it's not an overwhelming majority. And I think these members of Congress are going to listen to their constituents when they start feeling the pain of the tariffs, when they start seeing disabled veterans who are trying to help all kinds of people across this country who have served our country losing their jobs arbitrarily. You know, people forget what career employees do because oftentimes they're behind the scenes, but this is the backbone of our country. People talk about government efficiency. I think people care most about government efficacy. And so whether it is getting your passport renewed and having it happen fast so that you can go overseas with your family, all the way up to the nuclear stockpile that you talked about, this is the things that make people believe in our government. And these are the things that the president is so arbitrarily dismantling that people will see, and there are smart Americans out there who will know who to blame when the time comes.
You know, Daniel Coe, I will say this. I appreciate that sentiment because I often like to say that democracy is local. We think a lot about it happening in D.C., but a lot of it happens and impacts us in our backyards, in our neighborhoods. And to that point, people are going to start feeling it, but maybe and hopefully they'll do the right thing. Daniel Coe, thanks for joining the Katie Phang Show today. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Katie. Thank you.